Here are the top 10 sleeper cars that will absolutely send you to Gapplebee's and make you want to sell your car on Facebook Marketplace. These cars are always going to beat you at the light, so there's literally no reason to try. And the last one you'll probably be surprised about because you've probably seen one without knowing what's under the hood, and after watching this video, you'll poop your pants when one lines up with you at the light. Coming in at number 1, we got the 2008 Lexus ISF. There were only 2,700 ever made, and in total of all the ISFs, there were only about 5,000. And if you're lucky to have one, you know how powerful and rare your car is. These come with a naturally aspirated V8 and 416 horsepower from the factory, and are seen beating cars with more power very easily. One thing people don't know is how aggressive the gearing and transmission is for these cars. At the time they were released, they had the first 8-speed in the world and the fastest shifting transmission. Other cars simply could not keep up, whether it was a Dodge Charger, the E92 M3, some AMGs, this thing would gap them. The top end was really where this car shine, but the thing is that they are so unsuspecting. They almost look like any other Lexus IS350 or IS350 on the road. But if you see the F badge in the F fenders and the quad exhaust, be prepared for a boss battle. People will often laugh at these cars until they hear the V8. It turns scat packs into snack packs. Just imagine you spend $50K plus on a Charger just to get gapped by a fancy Camry from 2008. Next at number 2, we got the Chevy SS. It's pretty much a fancy Chevy Malibu that has something special hiding under the hood. Just a casual 6.2 liter V8 LS3 with 415 horsepower. I mean, look at this thing, man. The chassis looks as if a Chevy Malibu and a Buick Verano had a baby and somehow ended up with a 4-door Corvette. You're going to be able to take the kids to school while blowing the doors off Mustangs and older Corvettes without them even having time to comprehend what just happened. People also love to take these cars to the track, so if you see them with slicks on, you know they mean business. They made about 12,000 of these cars, and believe it or not, they made some in manual, only about 2,600, but that just adds to the fun. They first came out in 2014, and unfortunately, they no longer are produced, so the prices are pretty high up there in the 30 to 40K range. At number 3, we got the Volvo V70R, and oh boy, this car is just in incognito mode all the time. It's a station wagon that not only is good for road trips, but they also came with 300 horsepower and were all-wheel drive, so they were pretty quick off of the line. Something funny about this car is that it has a 5-cylinder engine, which is not common to see at all. Unfortunately, they stopped producing them in 2007, but luckily you can still find them for under 20K. Not many people are looking to buy this car, but it might be a new option if you're a new dad or you simply just don't want to upset the wife. I mean, just look at that interior. You got leather seats and so much space in the trunk for road trips and a dog. Now at number 4, we got another family car that will blow your doors off, the Mercedes R63 AMG. These come with a V8 and 507 horsepower from the factory. Now honestly, if I were to lose to this thing, I'd be quite upset. It's literally a minivan with a bunch of power for no reason. Considering I have a Lexus RCF that makes 470 horsepower, I'd cry if I lost to one of these. Honestly, I'd consider buying an AMG. After owning a V6 then going to the V8, I'll never go back. You can find these R63s for around 30 to 40K, which I mean, if you got a family, you want some luxury and speed, there you go. At number 5, we got the 2024 Volvo S60R. We are talking about the hybrid model. This thing has 455 horsepower and a decent 0 to 60 of 4.3 seconds. But just looking at this car on the road, you wouldn't suspect a thing. It's literally a 2.0 4-cylinder engine and weighs 5,500 pounds. Actual boat on wheels. This thing makes virtually no sound because it's a hybrid. All you'll see when you're racing it is its taillights, and you'll just be contemplating how you just got beat by an 85-year-old combat veteran who wasn't even trying to race you but still won. All I'm saying is that when I retire, I know what I'm getting. This thing doesn't attract any attention, but it'll remind those speedy boys who they were messing with. Speaking of grandpa cars, at number 6 we got the 2004 CTSV. This car was a sedan with a 5.8 liter LS6, putting out 400 horsepower, and even came with a manual transmission. It actually used to be called the 4-door Z06, which is exactly what it is. Anytime I see a Cadillac, I always think it's some old guy driving it who has a little retirement money, but this car is completely a different story. GM just has a way of turning regular traffic into absolute monsters in sheep's clothing. Like bro, if you showed up to a car meet without any knowledge of the these cars, you'd be wondering why the stock Caddy is parked next to all these muscle cars. Then as soon as the dude pops the hood, your jaw will for sure drop. Next at number 7, we got another Lexus, but this one is a lot more affordable, the 2008 Lexus IS350. Now I personally had one of these cars, and they have a V6 with 306 horsepower. With that being said, they could actually beat Infiniti G37s and 370Zs and Mustangs pretty easily stock for stock. This is because of the aggressive gearing, which is kind of similar to the ISF. This isn't bad for a recently divorced mom's car, and not to mention you can also get them for pretty cheap, like under $10,000 in good condition. As long as it's maintained, you'll have no issues. Just don't be like me and install valve cover gaskets the wrong way and wonder why my car's oil is disappearing every 500 miles. At number 8, we got a Pontiac, and no, we are not talking about the G8. We are talking about the 2005 Pontiac Grand Prix GXP. This thing came with a V8 and 303 horsepower from the factory. Honestly, I'm surprised as most of you are, because I didn't know that Pontiac did anything with the Grand Prix. I mean, every time I see a Grand Prix, they're clapped out and look like a druggie's car. If I heard that V8, I would think that it was motor swap. This is probably the biggest sleeper on this list, not so much because of the horsepower, but because of how ugly this car is in general. But hey, if you happen to be a drug dealer and want a way to get out of the deal gone wrong, here you go. I'm just joking. Don't do drugs, kids. Now, piggybacking off the last car, at number 9, Buick made a car that had the same exact engine as the Grand Prix GXP, and that's the 2009 Buick LaCrosse Super. There's about a 100-pound weight difference between these two cars, and I got a question for y'all. Out of these two cars, the GXP and the LaCrosse Super, which one would you rather have your friends catch you in? I'm gonna go ahead and say the Grand Prix GXP, because I don't care what motor is in any Buick, you are simply just not gonna catch me in a Buick at all. Never. And finally, at number 10, we got the 2010 Ford Flex EcoBoost. This car came with a twin turbocharged EcoBoost V6 and put out 355 horsepower. They for sure had to be trolling when they released this car, and it's all-wheel drive. Like, why, bro? Like, why would they need to make this car? Sometimes I just think these companies have so much money, they get bored and start putting random stuff in their cars for fun. I mean, I dig it. It's probably the best road trip car on this list, considering it has 7 seats and it comes with a roof rack, but those are the top 10 sleeper cars that shouldn't exist, but they do. Let us know if we left anything off of this list, and be sure to subscribe and let us know what you guys would like to see next. Until next time, peace out.